All right. What is up, ladies and gentlemen, here on M Cubed? Of course, I'm Schmook. So, I just got back from cutting grass. So that's why this is a little bit later than usual. Um, but yeah, we should have a good show. I think I'm going to do a little bit of the prep work now, even though no one's in here. But if you watch the video later, you'll know. So, next week is the 8th. And so I'm not going to a baseball game anymore. I was going to, so I was going to move that show to Tuesday, but I'm not doing that now. So it's also the solar eclipse, so who knows if the world ends? Who knows? We could be in The Walking Dead by a week from now. But with that not being the case, what's up, Shit Farmer? Good to have you here. If that's not the case, I think my ultimate plan is to record, roughly like 5:30 ish next Monday, and I'm going to talk about basically, if I'm not caught up on Invincible by then, I'm definitely going to talk about X-Men 97 because I know that has been, both of those have been coming out during The Ones Who Live, but I preferred having these shows be a little bit more, compacted. So I might just talk about X-Men 97 up until that point, like episodes 1 through 4 it would be. And then maybe do Invincible once that series is done, and then just talk about X-Men 97 up until that point, but I'm not sure yet. That's still up in the air, but I know, so the week after that, and then the 2 weeks after that, so the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th, I am going to the movies all those days to see the Sam Raimi trilogy. All right, so the 15th is Spider-Man 1, 22nd is Spider-Man 2, and the 29th is Spider-Man 3. So I'm very excited for that. So I think my plan is, I think Invincible will be done by then, and maybe X-Men 97 is as well. So I think when that's done, I'm going to try to get Brad on here because I know we're going to at least see Spider-Man 2 together. So we're just going to talk about the brilliance of the Sam Raimi trilogy. So, with all that being fresh in my mind, and of course seeing all of them in theaters, and so I was going to hit a different, it's going to strike a different nerve in my brain, where those movies might even hit more because I haven't seen any of them since I was a little kid in theaters, right? But of course, they're some of my favorite movies of all time, so I can't wait to talk about that with one of my best buds. And so yeah, those are the things to look out for in the future because now The Ones Who Live is done. So this is our last time talking about this show for a while. Who knows if there's a season 2? That's why I have series finale like as a question mark, exclamation point, because who knows? Because we're going to talk about this episode, and so yeah, that's all my groundwork. So I guess we'll just get into it. Shit Farmer says he just watched The Lone Ranger. I've never seen that movie. I hear it's not great, but maybe I'll give it a watch if you recommend. You said it's hilarious, but like bad hilarious or good hilarious. But anyway, so The Ones Who Live. So again, I'm not going to just jump to the ending, but the way it ends, it makes me think this show is done. But the way these actors are talking about it, I think it's not going to be like The Walking Dead, where it's like, okay, this season's done, so they're going to immediately start filming season 2 and have something come out next year or in 2026, right? What it seemed like that, Andrew and Denai would say, are that if the story's there, we will come back. They want it to be more event-like, and this was event-like because we haven't seen Rick Grimes in 6 years, and we haven't seen Michonne in like 5 or 4 years, something like that. So it's like, it's cool. So they want it to be like, if we have the right story, we will easily come back to these characters, but they don't want to do what they have been doing this whole time being on the regular show, where it's like their schedules are so booked, and they're so committed to the show. So that's why they both took a break, but they came back because they're like, these characters aren't done, and they love these characters. They want to do other things, and I get that. You're saying the same shit with like Robert Downey Jr. Like, he doesn't want to have these fat contracts with Marvel, so he can't do like shit like Oppenheimer, where he wins a freaking Best Supporting Actor for, because he's a damn good actor. So, and same with these two. Like, these two are great actors. They deserve to do other things, even though I don't think either of them have really done that much besides deny being in the MCU, you know. So anyway, so it feels like a bit of a series finale. I could see Andrew coming in a cameo at the end of Daryl season 2. Who knows what's going on with Dead City season 2, but that's about to start filming, or it has. We got a sneak peek at Daryl season 2 like last night, and that's supposed to come out in the summertime. So anyway, so the episode itself. So it starts off with, you know, you have they're like talking about like the plan, like what's about to go down. Of course, Rick he's gonna do the echelon briefing, and then Michonne needs to find that document that Jadis made that describes everything about Alexandria and the people there, and who Rick and Michonne are to these people and who they are to each other. So Michonne, of course, she does some ninja-like shit where she climbs up a tree really quickly to get on a roof, which is definitely a callback to season 3 where she was doing shit like that, which was cool. She finds the document within this cat from like the junkyard, and you know Michonne loves like that artsy crap. As we remember back in season 3, where we see Morgan again for the first time, she takes this little cat, so that's a little bit of a callback as well. And the document, she has to reach inside the cat's butthole to get it, which is funny. I thought maybe my friends laughed at it. And then Rick is going to talk to Beale, right? Of course, he has a first initial conversation with Thorne, right? And Thorne's just happy that he's back, like, but she's like, we gotta do things a little bit differently than Okafor, because she got the echelon briefing too, but she seems to be more for the cause than Rick is. But Rick has not heard the briefing yet, and I kind of thought they were gonna go this different route with it, but Rick is realizing he is who he is again after the echelon briefing. That like his wife brought him back, and his son is who brought him back, because he was lost for so long. There are no rules, man. We're lost. But he comes back, and like that's who he is. He is a hero. He's officer friendly. Even though he does crazy shit, especially in this episode, he does unreal stuff, but stuff and things, you know. But anyway, so he gets the echelon briefing, which basically Beale's telling him. So the human race has 14 years left on this planet, is basically what he's saying, based on what his scientists are saying, based on food. There's literally like herds of like walkers, like millions of them together, and like all they have to do is just go to one civilization and then poof, gone, right? So of course I think that's the biggest threat still, regardless, are the undead ultimately, because there's so many of them. The world is covered in corpses, right? And like Beale says something like that. We are the sword that kills, and we are the sword that brings life. Where it's like what Rick says: you have to burn something to grow it back, and that's what his father told him. So it's similar philosophies. Like you have to do evil shit for those to live. And I love when Beale asks Rick, what is the worst thing you've ever done? It has a little bit of like a slideshow where he kills Shane, he's killing people at Terminus, and then it shows me he bites out Joe's throat. And he says, I bit a man's throat out with my teeth. And I'm like, sweet. I love that. I love that callback, him thinking that's the worst thing he's ever done. And maybe that's where he becomes kind of unhuman. And even he has a conversation with Daryl, being like, and Daryl's like, anyone would have done that. And Rick's like, nah. But he had to save his kid. His kid was gonna get raped by some like fat shit. And Rick's like, I have to do whatever it takes to save my kid, my best friend, and my son's best friend. So wild that he calls that back. I love that sequence. And then like Beale talks about the worst thing he's ever done, which like he talks about how he's from Pittsburgh, and how there was like a second Civil War where it was Philly versus Pittsburgh. And he takes his troops out and lets Pittsburgh get killed by this herd of zombies, right? And he's like, it's not quite biting out someone's throat with your canines, and I think that's a great line. He's like, but it's not nothing. And then Rick's like, no, that's not nothing. You destroyed your hometown. and with your friends and family involved, just so Philly can win, because that's the side he was with. And it's like, whew. But anyway, to go more into the echelon briefing, he starts talking about Portland, how we're going to take that out. And we're going to be the biggest community. What's up, David? Good to have you, bud. And if anyone else is in here, say hey as well. But he talks about how they need to take out Portland, so they're the biggest community on the continent and maybe the world. Yeah, I had the mow today, man. It was like 80 degrees here. It's been full on spring in Missouri. So, yeah, I mean, we get some cold weather here and there, but I mean, shit's growing. So I had to grow. I had to mow. But anyway, Beal's talking about Portland, right? And how he wants it gone. And there's like this whole operation that's he's like in 18 hours, Portland will be gone. Shit like that. Whilst at the same time, Michonne, one, kills someone who finds her in Jadis's room. Sorry if you hear this fan, by the way, but it's warm. It's like 70 degrees out. It's kind of hot in the apartment, but I hope it's not too bothersome, but I need it on. But so Michonne, at the same time, after killing this person in her headquarters or in Jadis's room, she goes to this briefing of some sort where they're playing a videotape talking about how they're going to have to extract these children out of Portland, and they're like, it's only going to be like 10% of the kids, and like how they have like stuffed animals and shit to like give to them, so they're not fully traumatic after this experience, because it's going to be a very traumatic experience. So while she's learning that, Rick's learning the same thing, which I thought was cool. And she starts the radio into Rick, like, you know, like a Morse code type of situation, just like dialing on the walkie. And Beal's just like expecting a call. And then Rick just obviously lies, being like, yeah, Thorne, you know, she told me how she had the briefing and she just wants to talk about it when we're done. But, you know, I'll talk to her when I'm done. So, you know, Rick's good on his feet. He's quick on his feet. But Bill keeps talking, being like, we will be the biggest superpower on the continent, maybe the world. And once we're done with Portland, we're going to go through the country from coast to coast, taking out any small community, taking all those resources, taking out any people, and taking out zombies in the process. And Rick's like, you're fucked. And at the same time, Rick's playing with his knife, being like, okay, you need to go because this is evil. And of course, Rick's a hero. He's going to be officer friendly, knowing that freedom is more important than what he's doing, what Beal is trying to do, which is, and of course, that's why there's the whole A and B scenario, and that Beal's been the main guy this whole time, because if you bring A in to like challenge Beal, like Rick Grimes, shit's gonna go down. So, and then Beal says one more thing to Rick, saying, listen, wherever you were running off to, like, you're a great story. Like, you've tried to escape multiple times, and we thought you were dead, and you still come back. That means something. You want to be here. He's like, maybe you can lead, and maybe you're the next leader of the next generation. That's why I think that's why Okafor brought you in. No one's been like you, Grimes. And he said how he's done this like over 2,000 times. And, of course, Rick's that guy. He's always been that guy from the beginning, but he has that good-hearted nature in him that makes him a hero, even though he lost it a little bit there where he was starting to become the villain. But by accepting this, he would fully give in to that evil side of him. But he is the good guy. He is officer friendly. But Beal then even adds a cherry on top of this, being like, wherever you are running off to, your friends, family, love, I don't care. We'll bring them in. Just for you. That's how much you mean to us. And of course, Rick's probably thinking about it a little bit, right? But Rick's like, nah, fuck this. I found my love and I'm going home. Yeah, we'll talk about that, David. Here. I agree that the CRM should return fast. We'll get to that point here soon. I just want to talk about the echelon briefing because I think it's very important. So Rick then just takes his knife. Well, you start to get that murder Rick look. And Beal's like, he's like, swearing the sword. And Rick just gives him this stare down. And Beal's like, okay, this guy wants me dead. And he's like, no. And then Rick throws the knife at him, hits him in the chest. He's still, active. You get a little bit of a fist fight. And then you get an awesome line being like, we're not dead. stabs him through the hand and then into the heart with the sword that he was going to swear on. You are. I kind of wish, part of me, I think it would have been a little cheesier, but I think it would have hit more. Instead of just saying, you are, it's badass, don't get me wrong. If he goes, either we're not the Walking Dead, which is what he says in the comics. Because again, earlier on in the series, like the Walking Dead, he goes, we are the Walking Dead. You have to be dead to move on. That's what Rick did once he started to not be able to see Rick and Michonne's face again. He died, but he's like, we're alive. We're not dead, you are, which is cool. Where we're not the Walking Dead, I think would have hit harder. Or we are the ones who live. But I think that would have been the cheesy part. But I digress. Still an epic scene. So now Beale's dead. Then you get an awesome sequence of Rick trying to take him out in this like container thing. He's in an elevator with a big dude, and blood starts to leak out of the container, right? And then once he gets to the floor he wants to get to, the guy who sees the blood, and there's an awesome fight there where Rick gets the guy on the ground and starts beating the shit out of him with his prosthetic arm. Like, this thing's heavy because he's just busting through this dude's mask and then breaks his fucking face. Excuse my language, but you know. But the container with Beale goes down the elevator because this guy actually gets Rick away from the elevator, and the elevator goes down or up, whatever. So the guy's dead, and then Rick lucks out. That Michonne was the one in there with another, like with the dead body she has, plus a bunch of frag grenades. She's like, we can't leave, and Rick's just. Then there's this awesome sequence with Rick and Michonne talking. Like, I just want to be selfish for once. For once, I want to be selfish. I want to go home. I don't care. But Michonne's like, we can end them. And I think it's a good scene. And Rick's like, okay, well, let's do this. But like, Rick's just showing his selfishness here for once. That he's like, I've been gone for so long. I want to see my family. I want to go home. And Michonne's like, we have to do this. This is what we do. We make the whole world ours if we want to, right? So then you get to the whole situation where they have both these walker bodies, and they're setting up these grenades on all these gas containers, like the chlorine gas that hit Michonne, putting all these frags on there, and then tying up a line to the walkers. Then they're gonna follow Rick and Michonne out to like pull all the I want to say tabs, but you know what I mean, like on a hand grenade. And then they get out, and Thorne's there, because on this whole time Rick's been trying to like throw Thorne off his like scent, right? But she figures out everything once she sees Rick's prosthetic arm, being like, I'm leaving this all behind. I still wish he didn't leave his prosthetic arm, but it is what it is. Yeah, pins. Thank you, David. Thank you. Then couldn't find the word there. Hold on, I'm gonna take a drink. But Thorne's there, right? And she's like, I can't believe you did this. Where's Beale? Blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, go back and undo whatever you just did. And then they go forward, and then Beale comes out, and you see the look on Thorne's face, like, shit, Beale's dead. And then they move aside because this shit's going to explode. So this is where it kind of gets into, like, the iffy territory of the episode to me, because up until this point, I thought this episode was pretty pitch perfect. I loved all the stuff. I love all these flashback scenes. I love finding out what the Echelon meeting is. That whole sequence is epic. The fight between Rick and that the other trooper is sick. But then they pull like a tarp over there, and over them, and some water, and then everything explodes. The chlorine gas goes. So the problem here is what David brought up earlier, which I still have on the screen. I thought the CRM troopers turned fast. Yes, I agree. But I know in World Beyond, apparently it's theorized or whatever that this gas turns people quicker. But I still think it's kind of absurd to have every single one of these guys turn into walkers like that. I mean, yes, it seemed like there was a little bit of time there that passed with them underneath the tarp, because they wanted the gas to clear out a little bit. And then like they're like, all right, I think it's cleared out enough where Rick's like, here, you go to the other mask and I'll get Thorne. So I'm gonna rush her, blah blah blah. So then they go after each other. So you have Rick versus Thorne, and then eventually you have Rick getting cornered by walkers, and then you have Michonne taking on Thorne, where Thorne's like, it was you, blah blah blah. And Michonne's just like, oh, I never gave up. I never gave up to find my man. You did. And then Thorne says a pretty good line where it's like, in a dead world, love is dead. And I think we get a little bit of a cheesy line from Michonne where love is not dead. Or love, I don't remember what she said exactly, but something that love's not dead. You know, just the counter saying to what Thorne said, right? Then Rick gets cornered by these zombies. Michonne is able to stab Thorne and try to get the Rick, who's getting cornered by zombies, and Rick pulls a pin, thank you, David, on a grenade that's on one of the zombies' chests. And then he kind of is backed up in this corner. He has a walker up in front of him, and then it explodes. And I think it's a little absurd. Sure, maybe Rick's not dead from that explosion, but I think he, like, yes, like this is where I'm like, Rick's becoming a full-on superhero with this show ending. I mean, he's the man, don't get me wrong, but I mean, he should be, yes, he's just a little frazzled after it. I think he should be at least losing some hearing after that, at the very least. And anyway, Rick and Michonne are finally able to get away. They destroy the CRM, a whole bunch of troopers, and they're able to radio into the CRC, which I don't know what that means, but it's the Portland location. But I guess that means it's the CRs, the Civil Republic community, maybe, like the ones that's like, oh, we let people know where we are. It's a safe haven, and a legitimate safe haven with a military, but it's not a military state like the CRM where you can't leave, blah blah blah. But then we get to the part in the episode that I was not sure they're going to do. That's another part. I'm going to talk about this in the end. But anyway, they fly to Alexandria or the Commonwealth, but they're flying and they're able to radio into Judith. And then we get the reunion between Rick, Michonne, Judith, RJ. And it's beautiful. I thought it was beautiful. I teared up. Me and my buddies teared up. If you remember Bob, like we were just looking at each other like, dude, this is hitting. My thing is, I'm hoping there's, we'll talk about that, David. I'm hoping there's a little bit of a time jump next time we see these characters where, of course, the Judith actor, I want to stay. I think she had some of the most emotional parts of this episode where she's talking to Rick, like, I didn't want you to be alone, Dad. He's like, I wasn't. Shit like that. I'm great, and it's good. That reunion, I love it. Then Rick meets his son, which is still a powerful moment. I think Rick has an amazing line there. But that's why I want there to be a time jump, because I think they need a new kid. Because I think the kid he's a terrible actor. These lines were delivered so terribly. There's zero emotion on this kid who's seeing his father for the first time ever. Zero emotion. And he's like, oh, you're the brave man? He's like, yeah. Rick's like, yeah, I am. And then Michonne's confirming it to him. But this is the line I like, is Rick's like, but you can call me Dad, after he fixes the hat on RJ. I think it's a good moment. It looks good. Are we good? Yeah, I think we're good. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Whenever something like that happens, my audio cuts out. But yeah, I just got a tornado warning, Amber Alert. So I probably have to be done here pretty soon. But anyway, I just think I want a new actor for RJ. Ultimately, bottom line, because I just did not. I feel like I should have got so much more emotion from Rick seeing his son for the first time, which Andrew, I think, did a great job. Andrew's great. But the kid just gave no emotion, and it just sucked. But again, it was just a beautiful scene in general. I think it was great to have this reunion at least. Rick seeing his kids, like seeing Judith at like last he saw her, she was a toddler. She was like 3 years old, and now she's like a young girl, young woman. She's like 13 years old probably now at this point. So again, I think the actress who plays Judy is great. I want her to stay this character for as long as possible for whatever spinoff next or continuation. So ultimately, I loved this episode. I love that we got the reunion. I was a big fan overall of the entire show. The ultimate problem here is I think 1 through 5 is really good. I think each episode served its purpose to the story to continue on. In this episode, I feel like we could have had 2 more episodes, or like this episode 1 more as a true finale, because this was all damn rushed. I probably would have had this whole episode be basically all that happened at the CRM, and then have one like climax episode where you get reunions, like you see Rick entering the Commonwealth or Alexandria, and that's where he sees Judith again. Maybe he sees Aaron again, and maybe he gets a little bit of like knowledge into what he's missed, and then finds out about Daryl, and then I think it'd be cool that he's going to go out looking for Daryl and stuff like that. What's up, Carrie? Good to have you here. I'm about to be done, but I'm happy you came in to say hey. But yeah, I just feel like this episode was extremely rushed. Some of the acting, specifically from RJ, sucked. I think Beal was a little bit wasted, and like now, like some of the theories that I was thinking is like just out the window. It's like I thought it was CRM's was going to be this huge threat that's why they have to leave, get home, try to let everyone know what's going on. But now I just see the CRM's done, and what's the new big threat? Some of the stuff Beal talked about, sure, like how there's this disease, like these disease-riddled things are walking and evolving. So talking about variants. See, David, I get that. I'm with you. I thought it was fine. I get that whole fact that he's like, I don't know you, and Michonne's just confirming it. Blah blah blah. But I still think like the kid says like 2 lines, like "You're the brave man," and then he's like, and he says something else, and then he just goes, "I believe." Just like it could have had a little more emotion, maybe a little bit more dialogue. It was very stiff. There's not much emotion on his face. He didn't seem more like, I don't know you. He seemed just standing there, you know? And it's like, again, I'm not going to hate on the kid. The kid's like 8 years old, but I just think they should get a new actor. I think there should be a little bit of a time jump, like 2 to 3 years, where he's like more like Carl's age and Judith's age when we first see Judith after the time jump originally. That way we can, have more character substance with a better actor, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, overall, I love this show. I thought this episode was great. I'm not sure if it's my favorite. I think it hit me the hardest. With it being a finale, it was very cinematic. It had excellent moments, some of the best in the show. I still know if I like this episode 4 or episode 1 the most. I mean, those are easily my 3 favorites. I think 2, 3, and 5 are my least favorites, but I still think all these episodes are excellent episodes of television. But I love the first episode of the series, though, because, I mean, it's just seeing Rick again for the first time. You're getting filled in on all this shit that he's a part of. I love episode 4 for all these emotional moments. Rick and Michonne making love for the first time since everything. Rick finding out about his son. Him breaking down about Carl. I think that hit the emotional heartstrings a lot. But again, with having this reunion really made the episode, as well as the Echelon meeting. I just think the whole sequence of them blowing up the CRM at times was very like, what? And a little cheesy at times. But this episode was great. The series was great. I can't wait to see Rick and Michonne again. My buddies were just thinking, yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I do think I lean more towards episode 1 being my favorite, but again, I do think it's a good finale, and it feels a little bit like it could be a series finale, and like, will we see Rick and Michonne again? I think we will. It could be a little while, but I don't think it'll be that 6 years like last time. But I think no matter what, you gotta see Daryl and Rick You need that reunion. Like this show was about Rick getting home to his family, but now he needs to see his boy. So I'm hoping maybe at the end of Daryl season 2 we get a Rick cameo, and then he tells Rick and Michonne and everyone about this threat overseas, and then there's more variants happening. So I feel like the show can easily continue. Carrie, definitely get into this show. It's great. I think it's a great show. But yeah, guys, where we made it. We got the reunion. Rick's home. Yeah, they had all the helicopters coming over at the end. I think that was just the CRC that was saying how like they were doing evacuation, like rescuing people and stuff like that. I don't think that was an issue, but it's who knows. I have no idea. Like that's what this episode did for me. That leaves me a little bothered. Is that I have no idea what the direction is going forward. I'm hoping Daryl helps with that. But again, I just don't know like. How are we gonna get these characters back unless they're just little cameos within like Dead City or Daryl? I'm hoping there's a whole continuation show where it's everyone back together again. There's some big threat, and then they can just continue, and then eventually have a complete climax. Eventually, I mean, like this feels like an ending. It does, but I think they have more stuff up their sleeve, you know. So we'll see. I love the show. But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it. Make sure to tune in next week. I think I am just going to talk about all the episodes that are out currently about X-Men 97 and probably go over each episode after that. And then eventually do Invincible. And then, of course, my Sam Raimi review of the Spider-Man trilogy with my buddy Brad, hopefully. Just found this series on YouTube. What, The Walking Dead or Us or what? But all right, guys, I think that's gonna do it because I started a little late. I still need to eat. I need to shower because I feel gross because it was a little very humid out today, and cutting grass was just the. All right, guys. Oh, awesome, Carrie. Well, I'm happy you found us, and I'm happy you're thinking about getting into The Walking Dead based on my thoughts and opinions on it. But it's great to have you a part of this community that we are building. I'm excited for it to be huge and grow because then we can just talk about all this nerd shit we know and love. All right, guys, I'm gonna catch y'all very soon. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave your comments down below on your thoughts on the episode, and tell your friends because I think we have some good insight over here on M Cubed. All right, guys, I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye bye.